On one side, you have the gigantic tank-like Tauren, and on the other, massive werewolves with impressive speed and agility. Both are large, both are powerful, and both have a shot at winning. Focusing on unarmed combat, let's take a look at the characteristics, previous fighting experience, taking the average of the race into consideration. So, who would win, a Minotaur or a werewolf? Brought to you by Gamivo.com. Get the cheapest game time on the market, as well as other Warcraft products. Check out the link in the description below. Tauren are the largest of all the playable races, humanoid bulls with hooves, 3 fingers, powerful horns, and tank-like bodies. In-game, they're not really represented that well, as they only seem a bit larger than some races. The reality is that the Tauren are absolutely gigantic. You would be hard-pressed to find a Tauren that is smaller than 9 feet in height, which is over 2.7 meters, and they go over 10 feet, so over 3 meters tall. It is very hard to guess their exact size due to Blizzard's constant inconsistencies, but if we go by the book descriptions and cinematics, the game itself doesn't really do them justice. In terms of weight, Tauren are said to be anywhere from 500 pounds, around 250 kilograms, to over 1,000 pounds, so half a ton, if not more. All this mass is just pure muscle and strength. This is most evident by the fact that they wield giant tree totems, which weigh who knows how much. Also, they're not just strong, but are incredibly resistant, and I'm pretty sure they could absorb the punch of most other playable races. You can of course see this for yourself with a few examples. First is the classic cinematic where the Tauren literally just slams an actual bear like it is nothing, and in the Battle for Azeroth cinematic where the Tauren just rushes through the barricades and swats human away like they're flies. Sure, he is armored there, but it is not like armor is making all that much of a difference. He still has like half a ton of mass just rushing through the barricade. Now, it is evident that without a weapon, the Tauren prefer to just charge their opponents, utilizing their horns, gigantic heads, and incredibly thick necks. This is an excellent tactic as they do lack agility but can generate a ton of explosive power, moving very swiftly and crushing their opponents. It also makes sense as they only have 3 fingers, which is not ideal for grip strength, but when put into a fist, it is a weapon in itself. Worgen are unlike any other race. Their form is their weapon, and it is literally cheating. They're like the metamorphosis for the demon hunters, superhuman monsters. On average, their height is around 8 feet tall, so nearly 2.5 meters, and weight nearly 150 kilograms, or 300 pounds. People see these guys as agile wolves like cats, but I'd compare them more to like super fast bears. They're huge, they have the muscles to back it up, and they really have that strength as well as the agility. Here's the thing, the Worgen are not really even a race, they're like a druid form gone wrong. There was an entire war going around in order to just contain them, as they were far too bloodthirsty and out of control. The Night Elves just didn't want to have them around. Even after the current form and after they broke free with Gen Greymane, they still retained quite a lot of their strength. The Wolfheart novel is an excellent representation of just how powerful the Worgen are. They easily hunted massive wars that almost everyone would be scared of, and they turned the tide of battle in the Alliance Horde conflict quite easily. The Horde had Mag'gora that decimated everyone in sight, yet the Worgen swarmed them and ultimately brought them down. Of course, some were killed, but keep in mind, a Mag'gora is 30 feet tall, so nearly 10 meters, and weighs like 15 tons. Of course, this was a pack of Worgen, not a single one, but it just goes to show that they can fight massive beasts just with their claws and a few other weapons. Also, as seen in the Gen Greymane cinematic, the Worgen are able to easily leap from a large distance incredibly quickly, strike very fast, as well as to dodge and to avoid blows. They also possess incredible aggression and bloodlust, unlike most races, which aside from just size and ability is also a major factor in any fight. In the Battle for Azeroth cinematic, we saw Gen going into melee, quite easily dealing with Saurfang, that was one of the most legendary and skilled and powerful Orcish warriors in pretty much all of Orcish history. So with these two beast-like races, these monsters, who would win in unarmed combat? Here's the thing, the Tauren are gigantic, but they don't really have that much of a size advantage when compared to the Worgen, only around 2 feet or half a meter, and it is possible for a Worgen to be the same height as a Tauren. The only difference, and I'm kinda using the word only very lightly, is weight, and that in itself presents a massive contrast. Tauren can be over 3 times the weight of a Worgen, which is just insanity, as the Worgen are no twins, they weigh like 150 kilos. They also have completely different fighting styles. The Tauren utilize their raw strength and resistance, and they just charge, smashing everything in sight. The Worgen, on the other hand, focus on agility. They claw, they dodge, they leap, and they jump around. In my opinion, if a Worgen was experienced, this is like a perfect counter to the Tauren, as they could utilize their momentum against them. Not many would be able to dodge a half-ton bull charging at you with ferocity, but the Worgen are one of the few races that possess such speed. As the Tauren have hooves, they wouldn't be able to maneuver as fast as the Worgen, so they could jump around them. So unless a Tauren manages to grab the Worgen in the initial charge and to just pummel him or catches him with the horns, a Worgen could dodge and use his incredibly sharp claws to bleed out the Tauren and bring him down. Obviously, this would be very effective, as the Worgen managed to bleed out a Magnetor that is like 15 times tougher than a Tauren. Of course, I'm not comparing this scenario because this was like a pack of Worgen and all the other people were attacking. It wasn't a single Worgen, but it just goes to show that they are built to do damage against very powerful creatures. However, if we establish some rules, and there would be no horns, no claws or biting, this would be a completely different scenario. With just fists, I don't see the Worgen ever being able to dodge long enough and to have as much power to outfight the Tauren to actually overpower them. Sure, the Worgen might be able to still dodge, but eventually the Tauren would knock him down, grab him, and would completely crush him. Also, while the Worgen are literal monsters, the Tauren are no pushovers either. In the Wolfheart novel, when the Worgen descended upon the battlefield and the Forsaken retreated and everyone was scared, the Tauren stood their ground. So ultimately, my opinion is that in a no-rules fighting with clawing allowed, the Worgen could defeat the Tauren, not like very easily, but in like 7 out of 10 scenarios, a Worgen would win. But if the fighting was limited, the Worgen would barely stand a chance, and they would lose in like 9 out of 10 scenarios. Thank you for watching. Check out what is the strongest race in a fistfight by clicking on the screen, and also check out the second channel, Doronsmovies Academy, for videos on history and science. See you next time.